Hi, this is Subhash from Arena Jayanagar. Today I'll be talking about Adobe Premiere Pro, just an introduction part to start with. So here, basically the Premiere software will be used for two types of editing. One is linear editing and non-linear editing. Okay, so here, this is the welcome screen where you can select the option like new project and a open project. So we'll be starting with a new project. Select, and once after selecting a new project, we'll get this project settings. Here we'll just give a name as intro. We'll say okay, and see here, once you define the name for the project, we'll come across sequence settings. That means we can choose different formats according to the work, like you have a NTSC formats and the PAL mode. These are the standard broadcasting settings which we will be using for television. So here I am selecting option PAL mode with standard 48 Hz. So here we can choose the 48 Hz, and we can notice the standard frame size, that is always 720 into 576 with a frame rate of 25 frames per second. Fine. So here I'll just say OK. So once after you click OK, your interface will be opened. So guys, here interface means I'm talking about the work area. That's nothing but like the panels and the options and all those stuffs. See, because one thing always you guys should be very sure about working on the softwares is understanding the interface first. No matter which software you're working, be familiar with the interface. That's nothing but what we call as the work area. So here your work area includes the project window and effect controls, and right side, this part what you're seeing, this is called as your screen, where you'll be seeing the output or the video files or the graphic contents or the whatever the stuffs you are using. And the left side, you'll be noticing the effects options. Of course, we'll be talking about this later. And the main important part here is the sequence. That is where you are going to import the video files and the audio files. See, by default, when you open this sequence editor, you will have 3 video tracks and 3 audio tracks. This is where we'll be importing our contents. That is our images, video files, or in case if I am using any audio files or something, that I'll be importing it here. Fine. See, basically here we can add more number of tracks also based on the requirement. So here for adding extra tracks, you have an option also. We can go to sequence. We'll select the option called as add tracks. So here when I click on add tracks, you'll be noticing the option like how many tracks you want to add. That is your video tracks and the audio tracks I'm talking about. In some cases you may require more number of tracks. So as I said, the maximum number of tracks you can select here is 99 video tracks and 99 audio tracks. This is the very scratch part of the Premiere software which I am talking about. Understanding all these things is a very important part here. And most importantly, here sometimes once you open the software, you'll be noticing like your panels or your tracks or some this one tools options and all will not be at a proper place. So what you can do is reset the workplace once by selecting the option window menu, workspace. You have option called as reset. So the moment when you click on this option, you will notice all your panels and the windows have been will be reset to the proper place where you can work easily. So just click on that. So now you'll be noticing the interface has been set to the default mode. See, these are the things which you need to make sure before starting your work. Fine. And see, one more thing here, understanding the application is also very important. That means when you are working on a particular software, like what all the things can be done in it. Say for example, here we are working with a Premiere. So to start with, I can go ahead with logo composition, and we can do green screen composition where I can use some different kind of matties or backgrounds or video files, and I can composite that with the required stuffs. And next we can go ahead for visual effects, which you can add for the video clips. And I can even work on I can use transitions also, and you can add titles for your project depending on the requirement, whatever the works you have done. Okay, so all this stuff comes under the application part. That's nothing but the usage. Fine. So now once you open the software here, right top left side you'll be noticing the option called as file. So you can just start with some basic part now, where you can work with basic parameters. Say for example, where you can play with position, rotation and the scaling and other contents. Fine. So let's see how we can go about it. First what I'll do is, and see guys, one more thing here, you can always start with whatever the stuffs you have. Don't have to worry about you need to download the extra contents, say for example your video files, audio files. Okay, all those things not required. Whatever you have, you guys will just start up with. So you just go to file, import. So here what I'll do is I'm just importing pictures from the library. We can just go to sample pictures. See, this all you'll be getting along with your OS, your pictures and your default sound files. So don't have to worry about that. You just start with the basics, whatever you have got right now. Open the sample pictures. So now here you'll be seeing the images. Correct? This is what we are going to import in a tracks now. So now what I'll do is I'm just clicking a single click, then I'll press Control A from the keyboard. We can select all your contents, that is a images I'm talking about. Fine. So just let's click on open. So after that your files will be noticing here in the project window. And see, always make sure your project window is always active. As I said, first always start with your resetting the workspace. So that will be a good thing what you can go ahead with. So now once you're done with that, you're under sequence 1. Let's select all the image again by pressing Control A. Just drag it and drop it in a video 1 track. So now here the images we have imported. See guys, this is, as I said, I'm just talking about the very scratch part where we'll work with your PRS controllers and the opacity adjustment. Okay, that's it for the day. Now, so here we'll be using the two options where I can zoom in and zoom out in a timeline window. I'll be using plus on the keyboard and minus is for zoom out. Correct? So you'll be noticing the zoom in and the zoom out in a document. Fine. So the next thing is here, we'll always go for, just in the timeline window, you have something called as set display style. That means here you have four options which starts with show head and tail, show head only, or a frames, or a name only. See, here you will be very sure always you will be choosing a frames as an option. So the moment I select as a frames, you will be noticing all the contents clearly in the timeline window. And guys, be very sure, like you can even of course adjust your tracks, okay, and your workspaces according to a requirement. You can always do that. Fine, that's not a problem. Fine. So now here, once you're done with this, see, I can change this again to head and tail. When I say head and tail, like we'll say first, we can see the first frame and the last frame will be visible. And if I'm changing this style to head only, I'll be getting only the first frame visibility in the track. That is irrespective of the contents I'm talking about here, whether it is your video file you are working with, or still images you are using, whatever it is. Select frames, and then I'll go to name only, so you can change it here. So once you're done with that, so you'll be noticing all this things are in this library. So let's just set it back to show frames. Okay, so now once you're done with that, we'll just come back to the most important part here is understanding your PRS controllers. That is nothing but position, rotation, and scaling. So here first I am positioning, see, this is called as your edit line. Wherever you will position this edit line, you will be noticing the contents in the screen. So now what I'll do is I am selecting this edit line, positioning it in the beginning. You're correct? Fine. Then you just come to this, you have something called as top effect controls. So in effect controls you have options like motion, opacity, and time remapping. Fine. So here in this I am just selecting motion option. In a motion option you have position, scaling, and rotation. So here just position, let's see, now I'm just moving this edit line slightly. We just go to this, see, so here I am selecting position, rotation, and scaling. That means I'm talking about nothing but x and y axis coordinates, of course. And see here, like I can move it towards left to right. Fine. Similarly, top to bottom. Correct? Alright. And guys, one more thing. Once after importing the contents to the screen, just make sure the size of the image is exactly fitted to the screen. That can be adjusted here only in a position and scaling and rotation option. See, here I am just selecting the option called as scale. See now, correct? I can scale it here like this. Very simple. Just make sure you are fitting it exactly to the frames. Because you guys, what happens if you don't adjust these contents properly to the screen? Once you render your project, your preview will not be in the full screen if you don't adjust it right here. So it's always suggested adjust your contents properly to the screens. That is by using this uniform scale. See, make sure always this option is active when you are working with the scaling of the contents. So where your contents will be scaled in a proportionate style. and then comes is the rotation option. See, when I talk about the rotation, here I can select one more image. Make sure you adjust the size properly first to the screen, and then you go to the option like rotation here. See, I can rotate it like this, clockwise or counterclockwise. Ready? Very simple options. Okay, so that's about position and the scaling and the rotation. Of course, I can do the animation also by adding a keyframes here. Say for example, if I want an animation for first image, alright, I'm selecting this image, set it properly to the screen, alright, like this. So once you're done with that, you can always see here it's called as a toggle animation. See, these are all the very basics options. First you should be thorough with the things. So just click on this rotation option, and then see, the moment I click on this toggle animation, you have an option called as like a keyframe will be added over here. I'm just moving this timeline to the last frame of the image, and I'm changing the value to 360 degree. So now what happens? You notice your image is rotating. Correct? Simple. Similarly, if I want to adjust the opacity or something, I'm selecting the second image now, and make sure you position the edit line over here on top of the image. That is the second image which I'm talking about. Select the image. Here I'll come to the opacity panel. Okay, so once you're done with that, click on the pop-up over here. So downside you'll be noticing the opacity where you can set it for, see that, 0 to 100%. So now what I'll do is I'm setting the opacity from 0. Make sure you first click on this toggle animation. Remember, whenever you are creating an animation, first you need to set the keyframes. Okay, so just do that one once now. Here click on toggle animation, and then I'll make this value to 0. Click on this 0, press enter, and then move, and here I'll just make it 100%. That's it now. See, you adjusted the opacity for an image. Correct? The first one is we started with simple rotation. So I'm just playing it now. That's it. See? So these are like we'll be working with the basic stuffs. See, in this particular part 1, I've just covered about the interface part. That's nothing but our work area, and about the tracks, how we are going to import them. Fine. And then like contents and all, how we are going to import, and just going to positioning. Okay, all those stuffs. So in the upcoming tutorial, I'll be talking about a logo composition, how we can do that. So as of now, I'm signing off for the day. Have a nice day, and we'll meet in the next session.